What are things parents should never say to their children? Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy. Thanks. Story 1. I don't remember that. That never happened. When a kid brings up a past trauma. Story 2. Comparing them to others, talking about their weight, focusing on the negatives or their wrongdoings, constantly dismissing them, unwilling to hear their opinions because I'm right, you're wrong mentality. There's so much. Story 3. Probably calling them useless. Story 4. Her first words after I called my mom when my 25 husband 24 tragically died: "Don't think you're going live with me. I had 2 infants." Yeah, she was a malignant narcissist pedophile. Story 5. Deleted. Story 6. I wish I never had you. Story 7. Making a big deal when they're shy, quiet, and come out to socialize. Story 8. Parents should never compare their kids to other kids. Story 9. Have you updated your Jira items for this sprint? Story 10. What the hell is wrong with you? Story 11. Anything really that influences their self-esteem. Very harmful to how they see themselves into adulthood. You can come down on a child without resorting to calling them worthless, stupid, etc. Story 12. I gave birth to you when they want something out of their kid. Story 13. Never put your children down. The parents made the choice to have kids. The kids didn't ask to be born into the family. Story 14. You're special and can be anything you want. False. Some kids are dumb and can't be whatever they want. Story 15. This thread feels more like a checklist. Story 16. Moms, stop criticizing your body in front of your daughters. Story 17. This is kind of a low bar as far as bad things my parents did goes. When I was a kid, my parents were very controlling. Now, that meant, among other things, that they didn't let me go outside for fear that neighbor kids would wander by and I'd hear things that went against my parents' ideologies. It also meant that they controlled exactly what and how much I ate. As in, if I didn't want to clean my plate, I was beaten. Well, I was also a fat kid, and given how much control I had over both my food intake and the exercise I could do, I didn't have much say in the matter. My parents gave me so much shit about it over the years though. Like, even if you were allowed to have some agency in your life, you shouldn't get that kind of shit. It was pretty miserable. Anyway, when I went away to college, I was finally on my own, and I took charge of that. Everybody was warning me about the freshman 15, but I was looking my intake. That's not great, of course, but I lost a couple pounds. Not even that much. And then I went back home for winter break, and my parents are all, "Oh, you're too thin. You need to eat more." And I'm like, "No, I'm good, thanks." At one point, Dad said, "Eat more or I'm kicking you out of my house." And so I gained that weight back over the break, and by the end, they were back to giving me shit about it. So, I dunno. Maybe don't be such a dick about your kid's weight. Certainly not with demands and expectations that oscillate between 2 extremes like they did. When we got back into the vehicle and I put it on, my dad looked in the rearview mirror and said, "You look stupid in that." He wasn't joking either. It was pure maliciousness. Even my stepmom looked at him and gave him the death glare like, "WTF is wrong with you?" It's almost 25 years later, and I still remember that. Still stings. So yeah, parents. Kids can handle insults from their peers just fine, but from their parents. Story 20. I wish you'd never been born. Story 21. You know absolutely nothing, you're just a kid. Story 22. Before I got a colonoscopy, my mom told me, "Don't worry. I'm sure you don't have cancer because if you had cancer you wouldn't be so fat." So, yeah, don't say that to your kid. Story 23. Open a Reddit account. Story 24. A couple things. Oh, they're just pouting, throwing a fit. It's dismissive of a feeling of distress and potentially alleged reaction to outside stressors. And you're just a piece of shit. My dad said this to me all the time well into adulthood when I wouldn't humor him in his denial of very real child abuse. Dude also killed my cat in front of me when I was 8. I'm now 35, and looking back, this one saying caused me to rush through my life, wasting much of my youth because I felt I needed to mature as quickly as possible in order to stand on equal footing with my parents. It took many years to realize that I never could have rushed it anyway, as maturity cannot be rushed. It must be cultivated. So all I achieved was passing up on a lot of fun and formative things as a teenager trying to become old enough to understand. There's also the parallel saying, "But you're too young to feel." One's age has nothing to do with fatigue, frustration, anxiety, anything. I'm 35 now and just as tired now as I was at 18. Apparently, I'm just tired. Story 26. I wish you were more like your brother. Story 27. Don't make your kids do the things you're afraid to face. When I was a kid, my mom dumped all that shit on me. Rent late. I had to face the landlord. She tried to convince me it was a fun game, like see how fast you can run to his door, drop a check in the mail slot, and run back to the car. Even at 10 years old, I know it wasn't a damn game. All she was doing was transferring her anxiety directly to me. Be honest with your kid about the shitty situations you might be in, but don't make them carry the weight in your place. Story 29. Because I said so. Kids like a reason they want to know why they're doing something. So if you and a kid to eat their veggies and the kid says why, the parent can say because it will help you become stronger and healthier, and name a positive of the veggie, i.e. carrots help you vision. Story 30. My mom once told me I was the fourth most important thing in her life, after God, her marriage, and then my dad. Lol, now I never stop ranking myself against other people. That's not something to ever tell your kid. Story 31. If you keep doing this, nobody is gonna love you. Stop being such a disappointment. Story 32. Why can't you be more like? Story 33. Never tell a child that the divorce is their fault. Story 34. My dad antagonizing me purposely and then saying don't be so sensitive when I get upset about the shite he says. Story 35. Threaten to send them to live in foster care if they don't do what the parent wants. My mother used to use that threat if she saw me picking my nose. I didn't realize how fucked up that was until I was an adult. Story 36. Anything that implies that they aren't good enough. No quicker way to damage a child than to make them feel worthless. Story 37. I should have aborted you, and why do you always disappoint me? Can't you be normal? Truly fucked with me. Story 38. Having you ruin my life is the worst I ever heard. Story 39. Story 40. Divorced parents, you're just like your father, mother. Well, kid is bound to take after both, not just you. Story 41. Unsolicited opinions about their interests or hobbies. Story 42. Go to fucking sleep, you little fucking cunt. I heard the woman in the flat above me shouting this one night. It was the only time I ever knocked on her door and give her a verbal slap. That poor child. Story 43. You were the biggest mistake of my life. Story 44. I will stop loving you if you don't lose weight or if you get fatter, improve your grades, get that award, etc. I know tough love can exist, but don't think love should be a reward for achieving. Story 45. I wish you'd commit suicide, my dad. Story 46. If you're going to cry, go to your room. I used to get that one a lot as a kid, and I don't know why, but that one stung the most. Story 47. Don't be like your brother. Story 48. You were unplanned, an accident. I am shocked by how common this seems to be said or implied by parents. Kids don't deserve to be scarred because of their parents' irresponsibility. Story 49. Until you start paying bills, you have no rights, so you're damn right I'm coming into your room whenever I feel like it, and I can take anything I want from it too, because it's actually mine. You're just stupid and lazy to be able to make in the real world, and if someone ever did hire you, they'd fire you as soon as they realized what a mistake they'd made. You have no idea how much you cost me. I could do X, Y, or Z thing if I didn't always have to pay for your crap. We're free thinkers in this house. Rages when I express a thought, opinion that's different than theirs. You're just a kid. What do you have to be depressed about? You have nothing to be depressed about. After I told the doctor how I was actually feeling. You can't be that stressed. You're just a kid. Are you trying to make me look like a bad parent? Yes, I'm in therapy now. Story 50. When I was your age, I was getting high as a kite every day. Story 51. I should have put you in a sack and threw you in a lake when you were born. Mom used to say that quite a lot when we were kids. Story 52. You're worthless. Story 53. Bad-mouthing the other parent to you behind their back, usually if they're divorced or otherwise no longer together. My father had this weird idea for some reason that my mom was constantly bad-mouthing him to me and my brother and was using us as a piggy in the middle to get back at him, when that was never actually the case. But I think it's just projection, because that's what he would do if our living situation was reversed. Story 55. You have no talent. I don't need you. Story 56. Okay, now go ahead and wash the pasta off. Story 57. Just don't be fucking sarcastic and ironic with your humor towards them when they grow up. Just will make them be very skeptical about their opinions and second-guess themselves. Story 58. You're just like the other parent. Really messes with the kid's view of your relationship. Why is being like someone you presumably love more than anyone else an insult? Do you not love the other parent as much as you have said? If you don't love the other parent as much as I thought, and I am just like them, then you must not love me as much as I thought. It leaves the kid with a lot of doubts and destroys the sense of stability they have. Getting my mom to stop saying that took several explanations, sometimes from me, sometimes from my dad, that once you've asked for gratitude, or an apology, for that matter, you'll never know if the gratitude you receive is sincere or if the kid's just thanking you to do what you asked. Which meant that I could only be sure that mom knew I really meant thank you if I said it within the time limit before she asked me to. That's not the only case of if you don't do what I want soon, quickly enough, I'll be just as unhappy as if you didn't do it at all that I had from my mom. But it's the best example in terms of a phrase she would say. I'm still struggling to unlearn things like leaving chores undone, because I already missed some arbitrary deadline and thus failed, so it's no longer worth any effort. Story 61. You're useless. You're fat. You should get a nose job. That will never fit you. You look ugly. Story 62. I love working with kids because I can send them home to someone else at the end of the day, says my mother to my 5-year-old self. Story 63. Why do you keep outgrowing your older brother's hand-me-downs? My mom to me when my older brother pants and shoes no longer fit. Like woman. Am growing. I just ask for you and dad to make me. Story 64. Your opinion doesn't matter. That one still haunts me and is the reason I never speak up. Story 65. When divorced parents bash the other two in favor with their kids. That will make you hate and distrust everyone later in life. Story 66. You're so clever, you pick things up so quickly. Story 67. Probably what my father used to say to me about every idea or thought I had while growing up. Are you a fucking idiot? Story 68. When my mom was very sick in her teens, her mother told her she didn't care whether she died or not. Certainly not that. Story 69. My dad told me when I was 6 to 7 that my birth is the reason he cheated on my mom. So I'm gonna go with that. Story 70. We are no longer a priority to him. Story 71. If you want to see him, tell me now so I can drive into the wall. Thanks. Wish you would have done it. You are a disappointment. Story 72. You look hot in that. Story 73. Because I said so. After your kid asks why you're telling them to do something, you're just avoiding their question and telling them they have to mindlessly listen to you because you have authority over them. Story 74. Maybe? Especially for young children, the concept of maybe is really hard to understand. For young children and surprisingly many adults, the word maybe translates to yes, thus starts to release endorphins in preparation for the upcoming yes event. Story 75. Anything to do with comparison, like if your parents tell you what you gotta be, but has an A and is in the same class as you. Like stuff like that is BS and should never enter a child's mindset. Story 76. I kicked your mom out and I can kick you out as well. Story 77. We suffer and do all this because of you. If you don't do this, we won't like you anymore. Why are you always so difficult? We could travel more if we weren't supporting you. Why can't you be more like that child? We will throw you in the garbage if you keep acting like that. We picked you up from the garbage. We will call the police and they will take you to do manual labor if you don't stop crying. Story 78. We are going to mutilate your penis. Story 79. We do everything for you, spend a lot of money. And for what? You're useless, you aren't able to be profitable. Just disappear. The world doesn't need such people. And then they ask me why I can't spend a couple of dollars. Story 80. Telling them they are a mistake. Story 81. I should have aborted you when I had the chance. Doesn't hurt as much, but stings a little less now and then. Story 82. Are you deaf or just plain stupid? Story 83. Man up. Story 84. Don't eat that. You're picky. You won't like it because you are picky. So picky. Story 85. Never cuss at them or compare them to others. Never make promises you can't make good on. Don't ever say they're acting just like their mother, father. Don't say anything to them about a thing they can't control, change, or were born with. Don't talk about being proud of anyone else's kid either. Just give them support, encouragement, love and support along with guidance, and maybe lots of funny life stories. Second, when you yell at your 4-year-old or scream or spank them, just remember they are actually terrified of you. Terrified. They are helpless and you are a monster to them. They do not understand anything you are doing. Be as gentle as you can in the tough moments when they seem to not be listening. They are figuring out how to live life. You can show them without berating them. When they are older and can understand tough love, then that is different, but when they are little, just work on the heart, nothing more. Story 88. We're not angry, we're just very disappointed. Story 89. I hate you. Story 90. Giving birth and abandoning child in grandparents' or uncle's house for 10 years. And coming back and taking the child like nothing happened. It feels worst. Because you have parents. But are like staying in unofficial brothel. Story 91. Any kind of comparison. Story 92. I sold you. Story 93. Not necessarily something they should never say, but something they should never be. Drunk in front of the kids. Having a few drinks is okay, but parents are supposed to be the responsible one, and when the parent is incapacitated due to drink, it makes the child feel more responsible than the parent, and that is some scary stuff. The one and only time I ever saw my mom drunk as a kid, I felt this way, and so I try never to be drunk in front of kids,